Unitarian Universalist. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church, which includes this congregation in Birmingham, our congregation in Tuscaloosa, and our folks online. Hi, folks online. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are today, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Today, we welcome Linda Holmes to the pulpit. She's going to talk about growing up during the civil rights movement and as a young foot soldier. To all who are here this morning, welcome home. The prelude prepares us for worship. The mystery that our paths have crossed, that in the immensity of time and in the vastness of space, we coincide here. I'm in awe at the ways in which our lives intersect and intertwine, at the beauty we create when we are together. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be open in this offering. I'm so glad you're here. Let's worship together. Let us marvel at the miracle of being here right now and the mystery that has brought us together. In the spirit of inclusivity and welcome, take a few moments and greet those around you, especially people you might not recognize. And folks online, greet each other in the chat.
If you'll get your hardback gray hymnal out. Our opening hymn is 168, One More Step. We'll sing all verses. As you are able, I invite you to stand.
Hi, you guys. I'm Misty. I'm the chair of the Justice Committee, and I'm here to give the Justice Minute. I wanted to share with you guys an opportunity for you to join us on a service project we're doing this month. As a committee, we're working on various projects with partner organizations, but we're really trying to focus our monthly service efforts around the partner we've chosen each month to share our plate so that we support them not only financially, but also with our time. So this month, as you guys know, includes Earth Day, and we're supporting Alabama Rivers Alliance. So we wanted to participate in several city cleanups as a group, and included in the all-church email on Friday in the Justice Notes at the bottom was a really long list of service-oriented activities for you all to see. And we have members of the committee that are participating in several of the activities, including we're going to be joining the Freshwater Land Trust on Earth Day on Wednesday, and we're going to be removing invasive plants from the Vulcan Trail. But what I wanted to do was call out a bigger event that we're doing, which will be a litter cleanup of part of our watershed. So that's going to be in Norwood with the Black Warrior River Keeper, and it's going to be on Saturday, the 25th, from 9 to 11. So I'm calling it out because there is a place on the connection card today for you guys to note if you're interested in joining us. We'll get you more information about meeting up and helping us keep our waterways clean. So we hope to see you guys out there for this event or any of the Earth Month events. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I am Kylie Kerr, a member of your board. Please read the bottom of your connection card, like Misty just mentioned, before you turn it in. We have lots of volunteer opportunities, both here at our church and throughout our community. Our church is supported by those who call our church home and by those who support the efforts of this church to change our world for the better. If this is your first time here with us, please pass the plate. We are just glad you are here. We share our cash plate every Sunday with organizations whose work reflect UU values to care for marginalized persons, advocate for real and systemic change, defend our environment, and promote justice and equity for all. This month, we are sharing our plate with the Alabama Rivers Alliance, an organization committed to caring for our rivers and all life that flows from them. We appreciate your donations, either by placing them in the plate, by mailing your donation to the church, or by using PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. More information is found in the order of service in the lower right corner. Thank you for your generous support of our church and our Share the Plate recipient. May we give in love and in hope.
Another great song. Now we turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who need our love and support. Those who are ill, those who are in pain, either in body or in spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. Today we lift up everyone affected by war and violence, death, and disease. For those of you online, please share yours in the online chat and hold one another in love through your typed words. For those of you here in person, I invite you to come forward to drop a stone in honor or in memory of what's on your heart today. Please come forward. Spirit of prayer and meditation, followed by a moment of silence. We, you and I, are in between right now. In between what was and what will be. In between who we were and who we will become. In between letting go and embracing, in between saying hello and saying goodbye. In-betweenness is a thing. In-betweenness is a time of fullness, a time of anticipation, a time of hope, a time of worry, a time of sadness. In-betweenness is a time of waiting, waiting for news, waiting for departure, waiting for arrival, waiting for death, waiting for life. In-betweenness is a time of transformation, a time of reflection, a time of action, a time of growing, a time of becoming. During this time of in-betweenness, of knowing and not knowing, let's enter into this silence together. So be it.
Good morning. I'd love to invite any of the children forward for a story and move the mic just a little bit. Sorry, Thomas. I was about to be swamped. Just swamped, can't you tell? Swamped. So, hi, friends. How are you this morning? Come on up, come on up, come on up. So has anyone ever seen a spider web really early in the morning? Have you seen a spider web? You ever seen it early in the morning when it's covered with dew, has little drops of water on it? It's so magical, Brady, because it looks sparkly, like it's covered in glitter, and it kind of sparkles in the sunlight. It looks really delicate, but really, it's actually super strong. Because if you think about it, spider webs are really strong, right? Oh, yes. I don't like it when I walk through the spider webs at night, though, because then they get on your face and it feels icky, right? Ew. Yeah, so. But normally in the morning, they look very pretty, covered in dew. Every strand is connected to each other, and when one part of it moves, the whole web moves, right? Because they're all kind of connected. So in Unitarian Universalism, we talk about the web of life a lot, right? Or at least I talk about it a lot. Y'all hear me talk about it quite a bit. Meaning that everything is connected. People, animals, plants, water, air, even the choices that we make are all connected. Did you know that Earth Day is coming up this week? It's coming up Wednesday. Does anyone know what Earth Day is? This is two of you over there. I have to turn. Oh my gosh. So do you know what Earth Day is? We celebrate the Earth. Thank you. We love the Earth. We love the Earth. So yes, yeah, right. It's a day to celebrate our planet and how we care for it and those kind of things. But caring for the Earth, a lot of people think is something like making sure you do your recycling, making sure, we get solar panels, which is really cool, right? Recycling, really cool. Planting trees, super cool. But that's not the only thing that we should celebrate. It's also about how we care for one another, too, here on Earth. Because the truth is, when part of the web is hurting, the whole web is hurting. So right now, people all over the world are doing really important social justice work. Some of them are working for things like clean water. We've talked about, actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, our Share the Plate this month is a clean water organization. Some people are standing up for immigrants and refugees to make sure that families are treated with dignity and fairness. Some people are calling out climate change and fighting for those kind of things and reminding us that rising seas and stronger storms don't just affect everyone equally because some of us have more than others. And some are making sure that every person, no matter their race, their identity, or their ability, is treated with fairness and respect. And all of that is part of the same web. Our UU values talk about justice and equity and transformation, pluralism, generosity, and interdependence, all of that with love at the center. But let's think about what that looks like in real life. Justice means when we notice something that isn't fair, we do something about it, right? And equity means that we understand people all need different kinds of support to thrive. We don't all need the exact same thing. Hold, please. I have a little traffic jam. Oh, I love that I say don't roll it. We just do. Anytime. Interdependence. We'll talk about that one. It reminds us that we all belong to one another as well as to the earth. So when someone fights for clean air in their neighborhood, they are also protecting the earth across the world. And when someone stands up for the rights of their neighbor, they're strengthening that interdependent web. And when someone plants a tree or reduces waste or puts solar panels on their building, they're caring for people that they've never even met. So imagine that you pick up trash in the park. Do you think that affects the web? Brady says no. I think it does. If you picked up trash, then it helps clean the whole park, right? What if your family decides that they're going to speak out about everyone needing clean water? Do you think that affects the web? Imagine a group of people marching together, holding signs, lifting their voices. Each one of these actions is like adding a new strand to the web, making it stronger and more beautiful and more whole. And here's the most important part, you guys. You, all of you, are a part of this web too. No matter how young you are or how old you are, your actions matter. Every time you choose kindness, every time you learn about someone else's experience, every time you take care of the earth, you are helping to weave a stronger, more loving world. And the web we are weaving isn't even finished yet. It's growing every day with every choice, every act of courage, and every moment of care. So may we weave with intention. May we act with love, and may we remember that in caring for one another, we are also caring for the earth that holds us all. The end. All right, my friends, let's go downstairs for some community time. Grown-ups, can you sing us downstairs? They're gonna get there before we do.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
And good morning, Tuscaloosa. Hello. I'm here to introduce Linda Holmes. Linda, if you could come up and share with me, stand with me while I talk, and Bruce, Mr. Bruce, if you would come, hold hands. I'm not going to give you her background, her biography, if you will. I think there's information about that. But I want to tell you about how I met Linda and her husband. I met them in Selma, and I actually originally met Linda at the Montgomery Interpretive Center at the University of Alabama, Alabama State University, I should say. And at the Interpretive Center, we learned about the National Park Service. The Interpretive Center is our national parks, and we're celebrating Earth Day today. And I actually come from California originally. And so how did Linda and I and Bruce become friends from such a distance? Because we're all connected. And so we learned about that in the Interpretive Center. And I just wanted to have Linda here and Bruce here so that we could say hello to our people in Tuscaloosa, because they all came down to Selma and listened to a wonderful presentation by Linda. Our Split the Plate from Tuscaloosa helped Linda with helping to preservation is part of our work, to preserve the Brown Chapel in Selma. And it was a wonderful presentation, and Anna Schuber, who organized our organization, or our trip, I should say, Shampa Dada, who is our social justice person, Crystal Veroni, our current president-elect, Sharon Freeman, who's also with social justice. And I know I'm going to leave some names out, but I'm going to mention as many as I can remember. Susan McKee was there. So I want you to wave. You are on TV. And so I'm sharing those names for Linda because she met all of those people and they hold her in such high regard. And so with all of that said, I just want to present Linda Holmes, who will give you her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Monty Thornburg, for that introduction. Monty has been a friend to me from the very first day that I met him. Rarely does that happen in life. I thank God for allowing our paths to cross. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Reverend Julie Conradi, the worship associate. I've been trying to make her a doctor all morning, but she said not yet. Patty Stillman, and the entire congregation for inviting me to be your guest speaker. Thanks to all of the members who are listening in Tuscaloosa. Thank you. As well as everyone that's listening on other social media platforms. It is truly an honor to be welcomed into your church community. And I am deeply appreciative of your warm hospitality and kindness. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share and connect with you all. And thanks to my husband, Bruce Holmes Sr., for his love and his support in everything that I do. But most of all, I want to thank Almighty God for allowing me to even be here today. 1 year ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I asked God for a miracle. Why? Because I knew that He could perform miracles. I knew that all He had to do was speak a word and the cancer would be gone. But I also knew that He knows what's best for me. So at the end of that prayer, I said, but not my will, God, but thy will be done. I had my cancer surgery done a year ago, and now, praise Jesus, hallelujah, I am cancer-free. What a mighty God we serve. Let us pray. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Today I'm going to share my personal testimony as a foot soldier in Selma, Alabama during the 1965 voting rights, and civil rights movements. During the 1960s, under the pastorate of Reverend P.H. Lewis, the historic Brown Chapel AME Church became known throughout the world as the headquarters of the voting rights movement. During the movement, mass meetings were held throughout the state of Alabama in Black churches. The purpose of the meetings was to create unity, organize, and to work toward a common goal. That goal was the right to vote. Black people did not have the right to vote in 1965. Then Governor George Wallace, I'm sure you've heard of him, successfully got the courts to order an injunction against Black churches holding these mass meetings. Other churches in the city voted to abide by that injunction. But and it did stop the activities for a while. But thanks to the courage and perseverance of Pastor P.H. Lewis and Bishop I.H. Bonner, the doors of Brown Chapel were again opened. On January the 2nd, 1965, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he spoke at a mass meeting at our church. And from that time, Brown Chapel became the primary site for voter registration, the primary site for mass meetings, I'm sorry. In addition to mass meetings, the pastor and congregation provided shelter for many who participated in the movement. Dr. King came to Selma at the invitation of the Selma-Dallas County Voters League. The letter of invitation had been signed by Reverend F.D. Reese, and Miss Amelia Boynton had also made personal contact with Dr. King. Both of them were members of a group called the Courageous Eight, 6 Black men and 2 Black women who had been working since the 1930s to get Black people registered to vote. On March 7, 1965, at approximately noonday, on a sacred communion Sunday, a small group of approximately 100 people arose from the pews in my church and gathered on the steps of Brown Chapel Church, along with other Black citizens, to begin the march from Selma to Montgomery. This march was led by the late, great U.S. Congressman John Lewis. Heard of him? Good trouble. And it was also led by Reverend Jose Williams, who was a member of SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. They marched in protest to the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They were met on the other side of that bridge and violently attacked by sheriff's deputies and state troopers. They were sprayed with tear gas, beaten with billy clubs. Mrs. Amelia Boynton was beaten unconscious. They were on horseback, these officers, and they ran them all the way back to the church. My sisters, my 3 sisters, were also foot soldiers. They were in that Bloody Sunday march. And the deputies and the state troopers on horseback ran them all the way back. They even took the horses and started coming up the steps of our church. Many of them, 59 of them, were treated at the Good Samaritan Hospital. Some of them ran back to the church to be treated at the church. But a large majority of them ran into the George Washington Carver Homes housing projects. Those projects are for low-income families, and they surround the historic Brown Chapel Church. Those projects was called, and still is called, the face of the civil rights movement. It was a safe haven for civil rights activists. Dr. King, Reverend Abernathy, Jesse Jackson, and many others, Andrew Young, many of them stayed in those housing projects during that time. Others, when they ran to the George Washington Carver Homes housing projects, I remember my grandmother running out of the apartment and my grandmother would have towels, wet towels, to give to the people that were running because their eyes were burning from the tear gas. My three sisters, their eyes was burning. They came home and it was a mess. This ended up being called Bloody Sunday and is celebrated every year as Jubilee Sunday. On March 8, Judge Frank Johnson, he issued 2 temporary restraining orders. One was to forbid the marchers from attempting another march across the bridge, and the other, or any other marches, until a court hearing could be held. The other was to forbid state officials from interfering in demonstrations. On March 9, Dr. King led approximately 2,500 people back to the same bridge, where they knelt to pray. They got up and returned back to the church. A lot of people were not happy with Dr. King for making that decision, but he did. On March 17, Judge Johnson issued a permanent ruling that state officials were to let the marchers go through without interruption. But this time under the protection of the Alabama National Guard. More than 300 people left the bridge and marched the 50 miles from Selma to Montgomery. Along the way, they camped on land owned by Black landowners. Upon reaching Montgomery, the marchers camped on the property of the city of St. Jude, which was a Catholic property with a school and a hospital. The marchers were joined by many Selmians once they got there to celebrate their arrival and to prepare for the march the next day to the state capitol. There were also many celebrities that Harry Belafonte organized to come to celebrate with them. They had Sammy Davis Jr., I almost said Aretha Franklin, but no. Eartha Kitt, they had Peter, Paul, and Mary, Mahalia Jackson, who is my favorite, and many others. Now, what caused Bloody Sunday? There were 2 reasons. The first one was they were protesting the denial of voting rights to African Americans. The second reason was the murder of Jimmy Lee Jackson, who was a civil rights activist from Marion, Alabama. He was a hospital worker. And that particular night, on February 18, Jimmy Lee Jackson was shot in his stomach during a peaceful march, protecting his mother by a state trooper. He later died at the Good Samaritan Hospital. He was only 26 years old. His funeral was held at Brown Chapel Church. Another martyr, and there were 4, was Reverend James Reeb. And I want you to hear this very well, just in case you don't know. Reverend Reeb was a Unitarian, Universalist minister. He was beaten in downtown Selma on March 9 after leaving a restaurant. They transported him to Birmingham, where he underwent brain surgery, and he died 2 days later. Reverend Reeb was only 38 years old, and he came just to help us march, to help us to fight for our rights. The white supremacists that beat him to death were acquitted. A Detroit housewife, and make sure we note this one as well, Mrs. Viola Luisa. She was also a Unitarian, Universalist civil rights activist. She had 5 children. She was shot in the head as she was transporting a young Black man back to Selma from Montgomery. The young Black man's name was Leroy Moulton. He was only 19 years old. They shot her in the head and she was driving the vehicle and it ran off of the road And when they checked, she died instantly. But when they checked to see whether she was dead, whether they were dead, Leroy Moulton played dead because the blood splashed off of her onto him. And they thought he was dead. He lived to be 78 years old. Jonathan Daniels, he was another martyr. He was an Episcopal seminarian from New Hampshire. He was shot after being released from jail in Haynesville, Lowndes County, Alabama, on August 20th. Jonathan Daniels was only 26 years old. On August 6, 1965, about 5 months after Bloody Sunday, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act into law, thereby banning racial discrimination practices against Black people. Lives were lost, blood was shed, and many sacrifices was made in Selma, Alabama, so that African Americans would be allowed to register and vote. And now I'll give you my personal testimony. My name in 1965 was Linda Dickerson. I am a foot soldier. I was born and raised in the George Washington Carver Homes housing projects. My apartment number was 528D. These low-income apartments surrounds the historic Brown Chapel Church. My apartment was located about 8 doors down from historic Brown Chapel Church. In January 1965, when Dr. King spoke at that first mass meeting at our church, I was only 10 years old in the 5th grade. I was and still am a member of historic Brown Chapel AME Church. During that time, our church would have these mass meetings, and I didn't fully understand at that young age the voting discrimination practices. I didn't know that if you were Black and you went to the courthouse, they would have a jar of jelly beans sitting on the table. And if you were Black, if you could vote, if you could guess the number of jelly beans in the jar, then you could register to vote. I didn't know that they were asking my mother and grandmother how many gallons of water are in the Alabama River, or how many bubbles are in a bar of soap. I didn't know this. I didn't understand that. I didn't know that they were asking them to name the 67 probate judges in the 67 counties in the state of Alabama, and then they could register to vote. This was only for Black people. White people did not have to go through this. They could just walk on in, register, and vote. Selma at that time was about 80% Black, probably still is, but only 2% on the voter roll. Literacy tests and poll taxes were also given. I didn't understand voter discrimination practices, but there was another form of discrimination that I did understand, and that was racial discrimination. I understood it well because it stared me in the face everywhere I went in Selma, Alabama. If I went to the movies, Black people had to sit in the balcony. People sit downstairs. Our schools were segregated. Our churches were segregated. If you were standing, getting ready to go up on an elevator, you had to wait until the white people were taken up. You could not get on that same elevator. We couldn't go in the same restrooms. The libraries were even segregated. Everything was segregated in Selma, Alabama. We couldn't swim in the same pools. We had a Black YMCA and we had a white YMCA. It was really, really segregated in 1965. Whenever we went to the doctor's office, my grandmother would have to take us to the back of the door, the back, to walk into the doctor's office. The white people could walk in the front, and they were treated first. no matter how sick you were. And believe me, we'd sit back there for a long time. We had to wait until every white child was treated first, and then they would wait on us. Dr. King called Selma one of the most segregated towns in America. I can attest to him that it truly was. Jim Crow laws were alive and well in 1965. Sometimes we would be sitting outside playing, and my grandmother would come running out, and she'd be so scared, and she'd say, "Get in the house, get in the house." And we would run because we knew she was scared, so we needed to be afraid. So we running behind her in the house, and she said, "Get on the floor and be quiet." And we would get on the floor and be quiet like we were in a war zone. And my grandmother would whisper to us, "The Klan is marching through. Don't say nothing, let them march on through." The Klan, the Ku Klux Klan, was still burning crosses and terrorizing our neighborhoods in the 60s. Believe me, it's a segregated town. Whenever they held mass meetings at the church, I would run around to those mass meetings and sit in the sanctuary just waiting to see Dr. King. I loved going to those mass meetings. I did not miss not one single mass meeting. I would run around there, and sometimes before Dr. King would enter the church, he always entered from the side door and go through the back from the side. But sometimes we'd run around because he always loved to talk to the children and shake the children's hands. I ran around there one day, and Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., shook this little hand. You can clap for that. Thank you so much. I've been thinking about putting this in mold. I really have sincerely been giving it some thought, because that was one of the most memorable moments for me as a child, to have such an iconic figure. And as I grew older, it started meaning more and more to me, because Dr. King was only one man, but look at the impact he had on the entire world. You can't go even outside of this country without people knowing his name. So I'm glad about that. Before Dr. King would enter the church sometimes, we would be sitting in the sanctuary and we'd be singing those freedom songs. There would be two little girls in the pulpit leading us in those freedom songs. Man, did I love those freedom songs. I sing those songs to the top of my lungs. I love singing those freedom songs. And sometimes there'd be someone in the pulpit leading us in chants, and they'd scream at us. They'd go, "What do you want?" And we'd scream, "Freedom," to the top of our lungs. "When do you want it?" "Now." It was such an exciting time. But when Dr. King would enter that church, there was a different spirit. Even as a child, I could feel the difference when he would enter that church. And everybody, we had a balcony in our church. There was standing room only. But on the outside of that church, we had sheriff's deputies and state troopers on horseback surrounding our church. And we were young. But guess what? We were not scared. We didn't have any fear. We didn't even know to be scared. All we knew at that point is we wanted our freedom. I remember when the martyrs were killed. Every single time one was killed, everybody in those GWC homes, especially in my apartment, my mother and my grandmother, they were so sad. It was like they were in deep mourning. Everybody was so quiet. And it kind of trickled down to the children. We didn't truly know the martyrs, but we knew somebody important had died that came here, that came to Selma to help support us. Protests and boycotts were organized at the church by C.T. Vivian. They would line us up in twos, and they would give us these signs to carry. And we would march in protest down to these businesses on Broad Street. Broad Street, as a matter of fact, a lot of things happened on Broad Street in Selma, Alabama in '65, because a lot of the businesses were there. They would line us up in twos and give us these signs to carry, and we'd be marching and singing and chanting, and sometimes we'd be stopped by a trooper or a police officer, and once they stopped us, we would get on our knees and we would pray. And once we finished praying, we'd get up, the officer would move to the side, and we'd keep marching to those businesses that was discriminating against Black people. One such business that was discriminating was named Thirsty Boy. It was a fast food restaurant. My mother worked in that restaurant. She was the cook, and she cooked the best hamburgers in the world out of that restaurant. But my mother told us, and she had never told us before, but she told us this time, do not get in that one. She didn't want us participating in that particular march and protest. The reason being is because my mother was a single parent of 6 children, and she didn't want to lose her job. And she was in fear of that. And the reason she knew that it was dangerous for us to do it is because her supervisor knew what we looked like. Because he would drive my mother home after work, and he would come inside and talk with us. And he would be encouraging us to make straight A's on our report card. I didn't understand that. He said, for every A that you make, I'll give you a nickel. Believe me, a nickel was a lot of money in '65 for a poor child in the projects. We could get a lot of cookies and candy with that. So needless to say, I made straight A's because I wanted to get every nickel I could. But I didn't understand later on, I thought about it as I got older, why would he not allow us to come into the restaurant to eat? Black kids had to order their food from outside of the window and leave. But white people could go and sit inside and eat. But why would he encourage us to make straight A's? It didn't match up. I came to the conclusion, and I was never able to ask him, although I never would have. I came to this conclusion. Back during that time, there were many people that were not as racist as they appeared to be. I don't believe he was the racist that he appeared to be. I believe he was doing what he needed to do in a segregated society in Selma in order to keep his livelihood and take care of his family. Because had he allowed us to go inside that restaurant to eat, they would have burned that restaurant down. And I know that to be a fact. So Dr. King put out a plea. He asked for clergy, and he asked for people to come from all over the country to help us march. And they did. They came in record numbers. Most of them that came, they were white. But guess what? Once they got there, they had to have somewhere to stay. Guess where they stayed? In the GWC housing projects with us. I could remember them sitting in our apartment on the stairs and hopping across their legs as I was going to school. My grandmother would be in the kitchen making them breakfast and making coffee for them. This was a very exciting time for us because there was a priest that came over to my mother's house, and he said to the apartment, he said he wanted to sponsor a vacation for us to go to Detroit, Michigan, me and my baby sister. And my mother agreed. We were so happy and excited, we didn't know what to do. Because we know, as poor as we were, we would have never been able to afford a vacation. So the reason she agreed is because he was sponsoring 3 other families of 2 sisters each. So we got on the bus, we rode to Detroit, and once we got there, they let me and my baby sister out at this family's house. And when they opened the door, and we found out that it was a white family we would be staying with for 2 weeks, we went into panic. But we said to ourselves, ain't no way our mother knew that we were gonna be staying with white people for no 2 weeks. Selma was segregated now, so our mindset is like, how can this be? When we got to the, when the family came to the door, they had two little children, a little girl and a little boy, and the little girl comes running up to me. All I could see was she's about to call me the N-word, because that's all I heard from children in Selma. But she runs up to me and she says, "Can you plait my hair like that?" And I said, "Yeah, I can plait your hair like that." So I started to plait her hair. And when I got to the end of the plait, it fell apart. And I said, "Wait a minute, something went wrong. Let me try it again." I tried to plait her hair again, and it fell apart again. So I'm like, something's wrong with your hair. I knew that it looked different, and I knew it felt different. But I couldn't understand why it wouldn't stay. Because if you plait a black person's hair anywhere, it's gonna stay wherever you put it. It's not moving. You don't have to put moose or goose or nothing on it. It is not moving. This family also took us to the YMCA to take swimming lessons. Once we got there, and they opened the door to the YMCA, and we saw black kids in the pool with white kids, we went into panic mode again. Oh my God, they gotta get them out of there. They're not supposed to be in there with the white kids. The family had to calm us down and say, "It's okay. Black kids and white kids can swim in the pool together." And I'm like, okay. Needless to say, I didn't learn to swim because I was still scared because of Selma and that mentality. They also took us while we were there. They sponsored a trip for us to ride a boat. The boat was called the Boblo boat. It's my understanding that that boat still exists in Detroit, Michigan. The boat, we had little white sailor caps with Boblo on it. The boat took us across the water to Canada. Now we're poor little kids from the projects in a whole different country. That trip meant the world to me. But let me tell you the lesson that I learned from the trip. I learned this. I learned from that trip alone at age 11 that all white people are not racist. I learned that all white people are not mean-spirited. I learned that all white people are not prejudiced. This is a valuable lesson that I learned from one trip. And I had to ask myself, how in the world can you learn who a person is if you have no interaction with them? So that's segregationist. That was something that Dr. King didn't even like. I didn't like it. And I've been, from that point on, trying to create as much race unity as I possibly can every time I get the chance. Dr. King said in his I Have a Dream speech, he wanted his little children to grow up in a nation where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I wholeheartedly agree. Ironically, as an adult, civil rights, voting rights, all of this followed me everywhere I went. When I became an adult, I started working at the Good Samaritan Hospital. That's where the civil rights activists that were bloodied up on Bloody Sunday, that's where they were treated. Then I moved to Montgomery, Alabama, and remember the last stop for the Selma to Montgomery March? They camped on the city of St. Jude. I started working for St. Jude. So I'm saying, okay, this is, okay, maybe not, but it's just ironic that I'm following this trail. After I stopped working for that place, I started working for the Office of Voter Registration. And I said, oh, it's too much. This is a calling. I'm getting all the signs. Office of Voter Registration, we were over all of the registrars in every little bitty city in the state of Alabama. That was amazing because they all had to answer to us. And we're talking about voter registration. It gets even better. Once I left there, I retired from the office of the Secretary of State as their personnel director. The office of the Secretary of State, the chief election official for the state of Alabama. I knew after that, This has been my life's calling. This is what I was put here to do. So with that being said, I just want you to know that there were 2 movies that came to Selma about the movement. One was called Selma, Lord Selma. It was a Disney movie. The other one was called Selma by Ava DuVernay. I asked my 2 young sons, I said, would y'all play an extra in that movie with me? And they said, yeah, Mama, we'll do it. So we went up on the bridge. I wanted them to get a visual because I'm a visual learner. And I wanted them to feel and see the tear gas and the billy clubs and all of that on that bridge. And we were up there and it was a hot day. And they kept saying, cut, cut, because people kept looking back and wanting to see their face in the camera. You can't do it. And they kept telling them, stop, don't do that. We got to do it again every time somebody does that. They wanted to see themselves on the camera. And I'm like, so my young son looks up at me because they were bringing us Gatorade and little wet paper towels and this kind of thing. And he said, Mommy, when I grow up, I don't want to be an extra. And I wanted to know why. I already knew, but he said, I don't want to be an extra. He said, because look at the actors. He said, when we cut, they put umbrellas up over their head to protect them from the sun. They're giving them fruit. They're giving us a little Gatorade and some water. They're making their face up for them. He said, Mom, when I grow up, I want to be an actor. And guess what? My son is an actor. My son played in, thank you. My son played in one of the highest grossing films in ever, Black Panther. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with civil rights and me being a foot soldier. But I'm just a proud mother and I love telling it. So thank you for allowing me to do that. It's just been a great experience being there during that time. I love telling the story and I still tell the story anytime I get a chance to because it needs to continue, it needs to be told. Our history is not where it should be right now. It's being snatched out of everywhere from the interpretive centers and you name it, museums and all of that. So that's why we need to continue to tell our story. Now, I did tell you this, and we're ready for that song. I told you this, that I love singing those freedom songs. And there were 3 songs that I truly loved more than any of them, and I could sing all of them. I could sing all of them right now because I know the words to them because we sing them so much. My first one was Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around. The second one that I really liked was We Shall Overcome. The reason I liked that one was because at the end of every mass meeting, we would cross our arms and hold hands and we'd rock from side to side and sing We Shall Overcome, and we'd be looking at that pulpit with Dr. King, Reverend Abernathy, Jesse Jackson, Andrew Young, all of them, rocking from side to side, singing that. That made that song special to me because I can still see that in my mind. And my favorite freedom song of all time is Oh Freedom. And I'm going to try, remember I said try, so don't judge me. I didn't say I could sing. I'm going to try and sing one verse of that song for you. And the musician is going to help me out, and I'm going to try and do it. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me, and before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
You'll find your softback teal hymnal and turn to 1021. We're going to sing Lean on Me. If you feel inspired today to join the church, our president, Julie Nicholson Morgan, is here somewhere. Yes, there she is. And she will meet you up here during the hymn if you feel moved to do so. If you're able, as you're able, I invite you to stand. Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if there are things you need to borrow. For no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just hold me. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, if you need a hand. We all need might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
That's one of my favorite songs. Please check your order of service and your connection card for upcoming events. For all the following, please sign up the connection card if you're interested. Thank you for those who have kept our church picked up while we were in between custodians. We're delighted to announce that we have hired a new custodian. His name is Daniel. Faith in Action is hosting and organizing an organizer training here starting today for 3 weeks, starting April 19th and the following 2 weeks. Jay Gregory, I think, is still here. Okay. Okay, great. He is a community organizer. He spoke at our church a month or so ago, and he will be leading the training session today. And he told me before the service, today is about why we organize so that we can learn how to organize. So please come, stay for today's session, or come back one of the next 2 weeks. Next Sunday, April 26th, April 26th is our flower communion. Please plan to bring a flower for you and everyone in your family, either from your yard or the store, so that we prepare. It's a very important ritual for Unitarians. Monday, April 27th, we're gathering at the Confederate White House to protest Alabama's acknowledgement of 3 Confederate holidays. Reverend Julie's speaking, and she's been asked to bring 10 people. So if you can go, reach out to her or mark it on your connection card. And speaking of the connection card, return your connection card to the ushers at the end of the service. And we also have a special announcement.
Good morning. I'm Helen Rivas from the Justice Committee, and I'm also a volunteer with the Rapid Response Network, which you heard about 2 Sundays back when Allison Hamilton of the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice spoke. And it is an organization, as she noted, that is in sync with our UU values. And I'm, as I say, a volunteer with the Rapid Response. We need more volunteers. And there are multiple ways to help, including monitoring ICE activities, documenting their actions, providing legal info, referrals, reaching out to the community. You can fit things you could fit into your particular schedule, however you want it, but it does require some training. And so contact me or the church office so we can schedule it at a time that many of you can attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. In honor of the legacy of our ancestors, let us carry this flame forward as we extinguish the chalice. May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, every deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together, becoming our better selves.